welcome back to How We Live Online. I'm Christina.
I'm Joanna.
And we have a great episode for you today, Season 3, Episode 2. This is something that I wanted to talk about in, I think I said Season 1. I was like, dang, I wish I would have mentioned this. And now I'm getting to do a whole episode about it, which is exciting to me. I've been having this idea about the morning routine, skincare, makeup, workout, nighttime routine of it all being almost cultish to the point of ritualistic. Like it feels like we have become, not we, collective we, but a lot of people, or just the trend of it is ritualistic to me. And it has that added weirdness of being obviously performative because it's something that people post online, right? So I'm going to be talking about morning skincare, makeup, workout, nighttime routine content as ritual today. And I'm going to be talking about rituals. So, Joanna, what do you think of when you think of rituals?
When I think of rituals, I think of like witches or Catholics.
Okay, they have a lot in common.
Catholics? No, those are like my mom and I actually decided that we're going to embark on some religious education, like,
okay,
of all religions to like learn more. I feel like it's a good thing to know, and there's like a lot of history there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just kind of curious, and I feel out of the loop on something, so... But yeah, I guess that's what I think of. I think of, like, one, witches, and, like, spells. Like, the ritual of making something in your pot in a certain moonlight on a certain day. Yeah, or cauldron, if you will. That kind of witch. So really, like, a Disney witch. Not...
A hocus pocus witch.
Yeah, as I said, I'm not educated on spiritual
Not the Wicca,
things.
not the Wiccan.
Not the Wiccan. I as I say, I don't know much about these things.
I had a student who was Wiccan 2 years ago, and they wrote this really interesting essay about like Wiccan or witchy or wizardy stories and why like they often have like a huge queer cult following because of like the occult and queerness being in this like kind of strange in-between space.
There's also pregame rituals.
Yes, I was going to mention those. And I was like, I wonder if Joanna will mention them up top when I ask this question. Yeah, explain that.
Well, your pregame ritual is, and this also is like superstitious. But I think it's like, I mean, part of it is sort of like a superstition, right? Some people think that they have to follow the same steps, like eat the same snack, listen to the same songs, tie their shoes the same way in order to perform well in the game. Or some people, you know, a pregame ritual can just be like your set of steps that you do to pump yourself up. Or, I mean, also like eating a snack, like you have to, it's a good idea to eat a snack before you do your athletic performance. Yeah. But what you eat, you know, there's kind of some, it can really affect you. Like there's also such a thing as the PGP, the pregame poop.
Right, yeah, okay.
That's really important, and that also is affected by the snack you eat, how much water you're drinking.
That's an important thing. The PGP, I would say, is good for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I was, like, at Mardi Gras, and my friend's roommate was like, this is something we all have to try to do before we leave for the day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, if you don't get it in, your whole routine's thrown out. If you do get it in, holy moly.
Well, what were you going to ask me?
Oh, I was going to ask you, when you think of routine content, what do you think of? Like, if there were any periods in your life where you were particularly swayed by routine content or not?
When I think of routine content now, I think of videos on TikTok or Reels or whatever of people clicking their lights on, you see their messy bed, and now they make their bed, and now they have a really nice pajama set on or something, and now they're filling up their water, and now they're drinking it, and now they're brushing their teeth and doing all of these things to help their body or whatever. And that could be for makeup, and for makeup it's different. Usually someone is sitting in front of their camera and there's a cool studio light on them, and they're like tapping their little brush on their palette, and then they start doing their makeup. And there are a lot of like crisp kind of cuts to the next video. Same with workout videos, like they're doing 2 crunches, but it says that they just did 100 or something. And then, I mean, that's a really big number. And then you go through their workout, but in like a 10-second span or whatever. So that's what I think of. I feel like probably the first thing that I watched that had to do with that was likely a makeup video. And it was probably like an everyday makeup tutorial, which I think is different than the makeup routine video, because the makeup tutorial is generally more, it's trying to teach, people how to do the same. But makeup routine is kind of like, my face is bare, now it's magically has its first layer on, and so that's what I think of.
It's interesting because like I agree with what you're saying of your very like aesthetic description, or like how routine content stands out aesthetically. And I don't disagree with it, but I also just think about like when I'm consuming routine content, or when I have in the past, like I'm essentially like looking for some, like, it's not about what it looks like, it's about like the magic combination of things to do that will achieve happiness, or like achieve like your healthy body. Because, and I think I'm not sure if this is the type of workout routine that you are describing, but something that I've watched is like a week of workouts. So it's like not workout as part of your routine, but it's like only your workout routine. So like sort of like a makeup tutorial, like how you're saying there's a difference between makeup routine and makeup tutorial. It's like they're telling you like on Monday I do legs, like Tuesday I do cardio, whatever it is. And like they go in detail every day, but that's it. It's like not any other like breakfast or like any other parts of the routine. It's just like the workout routine or like morning routine, which I feel like, in my head, I think I've been more drawn to those types of things when I've been in some kind of rut myself. And it's like, oh, these things will give me ideas for workouts, or ideas for different things that I could incorporate into my day that will, make it better. But I agree that there's something really strange about like the staging of it all. Like it's like that part. It's like, how much earlier did you have to wake up to like go catch the bus on time to like get all these shots? Like, because you had to film your entire morning routine. That must take like literally double the amount of time as the normal thing takes.
And thank you, Joanna. So, okay, I'm going to be talking about rituals and routines as they relate to routine content. And when I talk about routine content, I mean skincare routine, makeup routine, workout routine, nighttime, morning routine. Mostly I'm going to be talking about skincare routine because I think it has the best comparisons for the idea of ritual and like not the history of ritual, but like the way that people have been incorporating rituals in their lives for a long time. And I want to start with all of these different definitions of ritual because I think that ritual is such a vast topic. There are so many different kinds of rituals, and I'm going to walk us through this first anthropologist's idea of ritual and then a second one. I'm going to start with Max Gluckman's 4 different kinds of ritual, and then I'm going to talk about Victor Turner's idea of ritual as liminal space. And I think that all of those definitions will help us talk about skincare routines as a kind of modern ritual. And I'll start with what I think ritual is. I think that rituals are something that people or something that individuals or communities do to either celebrate a transition, to aid a transition or to make a change in their life in some way. I think has a lot to do with transformation. Either that means like your house is dirty and now your house is clean, or you're a child and now you are a woman in terms of like a specific kind of religion and in your faith. Rituals aid in change, and it's something that you do often to aid that change. The first anthropologist that I want to talk about is Max Gluckman, and he has 4 different types of rituals that he talks about. The first one is magical action, which is the use of substances acting by mystical powers. The thing that I thought of with this is, holy water, or, if you think of like a witch's brew, something mystical, some kind of substance or herb or whatever that's going to help heal you in some way. And that's more about the use of the substance than it is about the healing. Like the magical action is the use of the substance that is a mystical thing. There's also religious action, and that is more calling to people to bring about spiritual or mystical power. So prayer is like the biggest one, praying to your God or praying to your ancestors or to someone who's passed away. Prayer to, like in the Catholic faith, particular saints. Like I'm pretty sure Saint Christopher is the one who has to do with travel. So like if you're going on a trip and you pray to him, like your life will be easier, like your travels will be safe. So there's that religious action that really has to do with it's defined by calling to those people. So thirdly, there is substantive ritual, which alters social relationships by your reference to mystical notions. So your affiliation with a mystical thing will bring you a different kind of social relationship. So that is like you will get some kind of clout if you do this ritual and you are associated with like this kinds of spiritual thing. I think that a good example, at least in my head, of substantive ritual would be a bat mitzvah, where, a gathering happens, a ceremony happens, and then a party happens where you're celebrating being a woman in the Jewish faith, and you have changed your social status by, doing this ritual. You were once a child and now you are an adult. I think the divine right of kings also has to do with, is a kind of substantive ritual. The monarchy is associated with godliness, with divinity, and so they can hold this kind of social, they can hold this social and governmental power. Okay. And then the last one I want to talk about that I think is the most relevant to what we are talking about in terms of like skincare routines is factative ritual. And factative is a word that I did not know before I started researching this. And the word factative is a linguistic term that refers to verbs that are used to indicate the resulting condition of something. So that sounds really clunky, but essentially factative verbs are verbs like make, appoint, or deem. They insinuate that like a change is going to occur, a result will happen from this thing. So factative rituals increase productivity, they increase strength, they purify you, protect you, or in other ways increase your material well-being. That's kind of what I think.
So where would like, and maybe this is like too in the weeds, but I get dressed every day in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Which one is that?
So I love that you brought this up. I will get to that after I'm done with the factative thing.
Oh, we're still on factative.
Yeah.
My aside on factative is I love this podcast because I can feel really smart explaining statistical control to Christina one week, and then I can feel really dumb hearing the term linguistic term and thinking to myself, isn't a linguistic term just a word? But then Christina explains it. It makes more sense the next week.
Well, because you don't say, like, I am factative. I mean, you could, but people would be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right, but the word, like,
meant.
I don't know, to me, the word linguistic means
Yeah.
of words. So to say linguistic term doesn't make sense right away.
Just word of words.
I know, but when you explain it, it makes sense. But when I first heard it, I was like, am I stupid?
You're
and
not.
The answer is yes.
You're so smart.
We differ on that.
Okay, so basically Joanna's not dumb. And I would argue that skincare routines increase your material well-being because they, like, in terms of like skincare routine content, not only is your skin being transformed, but also you are like gaining you can gain material well-being if you're selling those things, and you can also gain a material well-being when you garner an audience in some sort of way. Factative rituals also can incorporate all of those other kinds of rituals. Like a factative ritual can be a combination of a social ceremony and the use of magical action like holy water. So a baptism, I think, could be a factative ritual when it, purifies you. Next. Okay.
So, that's the tape going forward.
So, okay, Victor Turner, a 20th century anthropologist, his big thing was that ritual is a liminal space. It is a social drama, which I think just means, it can incorporate other people, it can be alone, and it can affect your social relationships. It's also a religious expression of the sacred, of things that you value and you want to, increase in your life, like abundance, that kind of thing.
Okay, the gears are turning for me now when we get to Turner. I really like this.
Okay. Social drama. So he also says adjacent is the immersive and performative events. Like I said, I'm adding like dance and sport, but he particularly specifies like backpacking. And I think that's really funny because it's like emerging, going on the journey and emerging on the other side.
Well, there's also like the Camino de Santiago, which is like, the famous.
I love the way we're pronouncing everything in Spanish.
Well, that one I was purposefully towing the line between Camino de Santiago and full Camino de Santiago.
Santiago.
But yeah, like, because a lot of backpacking, like there are journeys that were originally, not like done for like, your post-college soul searching, but like old-timey people soul searching, just a different font.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I thought of backpacking and then I didn't think any further, but yeah, obviously like Mecca.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. That's a ritual. And it's, in this liminal space of the journey, and backpacking in particular, and the things in which you are actually moving through space in that time and going on a literal journey. You start at one place, you end up at the other through this ritual of walking. This liminal space is or can be transformative, immersive, materially and spiritually productive, which is essentially that factative ritual that we were talking about, transformative, performative, and transitional, and it'll get you from one place to the other. So this reminds me so much of skincare content and routine content, because in those videos specifically, these people start off dirty. They start off messy, oily,
or dry,
or whatever, and then they end up being so clean. And there's the literal purifying idea of like, I am clean now, like I washed my face. And then there's also this like I have emerged from my skincare routine a better, more productive version of myself because I've spent this time with myself. And right now, I think we are having this conversation always about productivity, but not only about the things that I achieve in work or school or in social life that are productive, but also the ways that I take care of myself as being productive. So the skincare routine is another way to flex to other people, look at me and look at what I can do, look at what I can achieve on top of everything else. What is interesting to me, not just about I think so these 20th century anthropologists are talking about ritual as, something people do for themselves to gain a spiritual awakening or some control in their lives, or to pray for more safety, for health, for a new social status, for some kind of connection to divinity in those more religious, social rituals, like the bat mitzvah we were talking about, or even the divine right of kings. But what's crazy about this to me is that there's this added performance of not just doing the ritual, but showing everyone that you did the ritual and proposing that this is something you do daily. I think there's a lot of just question marks for me there.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's true what you're saying, but also I feel like performance has always been a big part. Like, you always invite people to your bat mitzvah. Like, that's a big celebration with everyone. Because, when you were saying the definition, I was thinking, oh, this is all about, social performance. And I don't think it is all about that, but I think a big part of it is the things you do because they're a part of your culture, or to a certain extent, other people are holding you accountable to doing them, or not accountable, but you want to be able to be in the club of people who do these things, and you're not just in that club if you do them, you're in that club if you do them and other people know you do them. Like being on the Overly swim team. That one just came in my head. Right?
Yeah. Or any community swim team, private pool situation in which everyone is really cool.
Right. So it's not just it's a thing because all the other people are there and they see you there, and you post your pictures.
Yeah.
And you post your pictures.
And the difference is, and you post your pictures and you look back at them and you keep, there's the viewer side who see it and they're like, damn. And then there's the you side who made it, and you can return to here is proof that this is who I am and this is what I can achieve. There's this idea of the factative ritual having material consequences, increased material well-being, either purifying you or strengthening you or whatever. And that idea in these 20th century anthropologists' idea of transformation is, a positive. I'm reading my notes backwards.
Oh my gosh, you are reading from the Torah.
That's pretty good. Wait, tangent, and I think it's important. Joanna and I both were hired, or we were interviewing for this retail job in college, and this particular business had a store that only sold Christmas items, as well as, a different kind of gift shop. And during my interview, there was no question about my religious affiliations. But what did they ask you, Joanna?
They asked me if I was Jewish. And I'm not Jewish.
Illegal.
It is illegal. And, we should have brought it up. We should have known, red flag right from the start.
Yeah. It was a Christmas shop, obviously, in Williamsburg. Those people were what you would expect. Anyway. And we made literally $7.25. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. So many hours sweeping that store, listening to fucking, I can't even, what's Luke Combs or something? I don't know. There was one country album that they loved that they always played.
Anyway. We listened to a lot of the Frankie Valley and the Seasons over at the
Sure.
Christmas shop. Because I'm not Jewish, I was allowed to work at the Christmas shop, but not Christina. Like,
I never worked over there.
I always wondered how that, like, delineation happened.
I don't know.
I think I look more jolly than you do.
I guess. Damn. Maybe I was just honestly a bad worker. Because there was a bigger staff at the other store, so I could just do not as much. But at the Christmas shop, you were probably working a lot harder than me. They wanted someone better over there.
I did. I was thinking about this the other day. I received checks.
What? You got paid in check?
Well, okay, yes, but I mean like at the cash, we accepted checks. Isn't that wild?
Why? Wait, but I feel like I remember when I was little watching people pay for groceries with checks.
Yeah, you could. I think a lot of, like, I don't know what year that would actually be. I mean, I was about to say that would be interesting to look it up, but then I was like, wait, that wouldn't be interesting to look up right now. But yeah, no, I think it was a thing. This was like circa 2016 though, in 2017 when we were working here, when I think there was like far past a thing to pay for anything with checks.
Yeah, it's just all the old people in Williamsburg.
Yeah.
Virginia. Not Brooklyn or wherever the cool Williamsburg is. Not there.
I didn't know that. I guess that makes sense. Never mind.
More people think of that than the Virginia one. Anyway.
Well, I was going to say, I didn't know that was the cool Williamsburg.
Oh. Well, I think it's a little obvious.
I guess.
All right. We'll go back to what I was trying to say. Okay, so I was trying to say that this idea of transformation in terms of anthropological ritual has this factative connotation in which transformation means the end result will be productivity, it'll be strength, it'll be purification, protection, right? And then that makes me think of when you open the little skincare video, morning routine video, and it's like, transform my skin with me, or how I transformed my skin in 2 weeks. And that transformation is also about betterment. It's about improvement, and it's doing the same thing. It's like purifying my skin by making it less have acne, and also I'm better than you a little bit.
Well,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like social clout because, like, one, I was able to achieve this thing in which I transformed my skin to be this idealized kind of skin, but it also means that I have the knowledge and I can show you. I have the power.
Yeah, I think the knowledge is a big thing. I know which products, I know which methods. The other thing that it makes me think of too is like diligence. And which I feel like is a big thing. Like, you know, it makes me think of, I don't know why we're really like turning the wheels of time back this episode. Actually, this isn't that far long ago. I don't know what I'm saying. But Christina and I also took a Tai Chi class together where we learned a bit about the ancient philosophers of China. I feel like diligence was a big thing. And also when I took karate, diligence is like a big thing in those practices. Yeah, because it's not just that you do the routine, but you are committed to doing the routine routinely, or your ritual routinely.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing that we see, you know, with the conversation surrounding productivity. And if you just do these things every single day for the rest of your life until you die, your house will not be that dirty. Your skin will be more clear. You can live a more beautiful, fulfilling life if you stick to the plan. And this idea of diligence is, I mean, it's been in existence forever with people with, organized with religion, with like, any schools of thought, like just do these. Oh, you know that book that's like 7 Habits for the highly, what's it called?
Successful businessman?
Is that what it's called?
I don't know. I know what you're meaning. I think it's just like
7 Habits for, okay. The book that is more known is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. But the book that was in my house that I never read, that I was always so pissed about just like seeing dog-eared around my house somewhere, which was definitely a manipulative tactic by my mother, was
God.
The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. That book was like clearly so like dog-eared, like messy, like read cover to cover, and just like traveling around my house.
What
And
does
I
that
never picked it
mean?
up.
What is the definition
know.
of an effective teen? Someone who's causing a ruckus.
Be proactive, be a leader, turn setbacks into triumphs. Begin with the end in mind. Set a goal. Put things first. Prioritize. These are all the same thing. Think win-win. Compromise. That is the parents.
Here's
Seek
my
first
definition.
to understand, then to be understood. What?
At least one caper. Plenty of hijinks.
Right?
A whirlwind romance.
Right? If it's about like being the most teen you can possibly teen, like hijinks, car sex, or whatever. Something, Okay, so transformative. We talked a little bit about the aesthetics of these kinds of videos, and Joanna talked about her like kind of emotional, mental reaction, psychological reaction to those kinds of videos. And I want to talk about the production of them, because I think that it has a lot to do with, purification and transformation, because it feels like when you watch these, because it's cut from something ugly to something beautiful, or something messy to something clean, or something, I don't know, somehow off kilter and now set back to where it's supposed to be. A dirty countertop or a full countertop becomes like a clean white space again. That feels like magic, when you make it and when you watch it. It feels like very satisfying, as if you have snapped your fingers and now you have made all of this change. When in reality, when you think about the way that these things are formed and created and edited and stuff, like it does take hours to find the right light, to find the right angle, to film your apartment that's as messy as you're okay with people seeing it be messy, not as messy as maybe it actually gets. Me personally, since I had COVID, my apartment was fucking terrible. Like, I hadn't had anyone in my apartment, like no human has set foot in here for a month. It's just me. And that is because I was sick and traveling, and then also because I let my apartment get terrible. Just like, I usually like tidy, at least like I'm not good at like daily cleaning. Joanna knows that. But I'll take one day to like really clean. And I wasn't even doing that. And so I just had like cups everywhere and clothes, because I live alone, and it's like, oh, my pants are uncomfortable. Actually, my jeans are on the floor right there. And I would just take off my clothes. And so I like couldn't walk around my apartment because my clothes were in every doorway. And that's not something that I would put on the internet, but I would maybe throw a jacket on my couch in a way that looked messy, right? Making the video allows you, and I'm more interested in the making of it, because I think as viewers, we know how it makes us feel. Like, we're jealous. We wish that our lives could be that way. We want to be able to achieve all of those things every morning. Like, what the routine posits is that this person does this every single day. This person wakes up and makes their bed and looks really nice somehow when they do that. So I'm not super interested. Like, I feel like I've talked about the viewership of this kind of thing, and just in many ways, like, you want to be like them. It's aspirational, la la la. But also, like, the power in the making the thing is so crazy because you're like, okay, now I'm inventing this version of myself who does this every day. And I feel like if I were to make a morning routine video, I would be like, well, damn, I only do like 4 things. I gotta like make this video more interesting. So, like, what if I were a person who had all not just coffee in the morning, but also like lemon water? I see other people doing that. Sure, I'll add that to the routine. Should I put on video me scooping my cat litter? Should I put on video me like taking like taking a shit in the morning? Like, is that not Joanna didn't even laugh. She didn't even crack
I
a
did
smile at me
laugh.
saying
Wait,
that.
I laughed about Afra's poop, not about your poop.
Like, these are the things that do happen in the morning. And
Yeah.
it's just like a curation of this idealized version of a morning that the creator of it, I'm really just guessing, does not achieve daily.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because, like, and I'm really having a lot of new thoughts that I've never thought before as you're explaining this.
Yes, keep saying them. Say them.
So, what's interesting to me is your example of how your life opposes a life of routine is your apartment that was thrown into chaos when you got sick and when you were traveling. You were thrown out of your routine, and you talked about cleaning. That you weren't usually you tidy up a routine that maybe doesn't happen every day, but maybe it happens once a week. That's pretty routine.
Yeah.
But you were obviously thrown out of your routine and you didn't clean up and it piled up. And so when you said that, it was really interesting to me because I a little bit feel like sometimes we attack the routine itself, right? Like, it's crazy if you have lemon water and a matcha and a coffee in the morning. Far too many drinks for one person. But
Honestly,
like, it's the content creation and like the idea that this person is a business who is promoting themselves or selling themselves and we're consuming it like it's normal. You know, things would be perfect when routines do seem pretty important. So yeah, I'm just trying to wrap my head around that.
yeah. You're like saying I have holes in my argument.
No, I'm not
Interesting.
saying you have holes because I
No,
think that's
no, no, but
exactly
you're
what you
right.
said because you're
And I'm
talking about
addressing them soon.
you knew the holes were there all along.
I have many holes, Joanna.
But no, it is just yeah. You know, I'm probably setting it up just how you wanted it to be teed up.
Talk about routine. I have to tell you something really weird I did last night. You know, like those memes about like, oh, I have free will. Now I'm gonna like punch the wall or something. Last night I was like, I was just, get out of the shower and like, here's a routine I have. I get out of the shower, I dry myself, I put lotion on, and then I put on my clothes. And I hadn't put on my clothes yet, but I was like, I never just like hanging around naked. And then I was like, what is there even to do? And then I was like, oh, I kind of need to stretch. And then I started like stretching my arm back. And then in the mirror, I was like, oh, like softball players like really like whip their arm around. And then I was like trying so hard to like do a softball pitch
Uh-huh.
in the mirror last night. And then I was like, that was weird. And then I tried to do it with both arms at the same time.
Yeah.
And that was really hard and hurt a lot. And it makes me wonder, do people not just like throw their shoulder off of their, like, isn't there a lot of injury in that kind of pitching?
There is injury, but also, you know, their muscles would be, since they have done it so frequently and diligently, their muscles would be more built up to prevent injury.
Next. Yeah, I think that like what's crazy about this kind of thing is like that magical quality of snap your fingers, wiggle your nose, whatever, click your heels, and there's been a transformation when you watch the video. So when the viewer watches the video, they're like, damn, I really wish that was my life. And then when the creator watches the video, they're like, look at me. Like, this is the version of myself that I really want to be, that I can be. I know I can be. When like in reality, the version of themselves that they're looking at is the version of themselves that like spent half of a day shooting this video. And that's, at least in my eyes, a different achievement than doing a skincare routine every day. What you've done is like, you've created a production in which a person washes their face and does all these chores and stuff. This isn't to say like that rituals are bad or that, routine content is bad or whatever. And Joanna had pointed out that like, I was saying that when my routine was in flux, I felt out of balance and I felt frustrated. And that generally, with the non-religious context, is what like ritual and routine can give to us. It gives us predictability and stability. It can calm our anxiety. There are some studies referenced in this BBC article that one in particular talks about pre-game rituals and talks about like how players are less anxious and because they do their ritual, and then when they're less anxious they perform better. It's just another thing that really comes back to control. And it might not be like when I hold this crystal and I have like this crystal in my window. I forget what the crystal is, but I bought it because it was like abundance. And then I found out later, oh wait, no, I bought Isaiah one that was for abundance. And then I found out later that was actually like abundance in fertility. So I bought him like a fertility crystal, which is not something that he's looking for in his life right now. But, holding a rose quartz to your heart and like hoping that you'll find love every day doesn't necessarily mean that you'll find love tomorrow. But like it does, I think, honor the anxiety that you have about it and put it into something else.
Yeah, I was gonna say backing up just to about the routine and control, something I didn't say at the top, but a time, like when I was saying a time when I was particularly gravitating towards routine content, specifically morning routines, has been as I've entered the workforce. And that's a time when you're dedicating 8 hours of your day to something out of your hands, right? And so I feel like curating a morning routine or a nighttime routine seems even more important because that's your time. And any time that isn't spent on yourself or in your personal endeavors or whatever you value really feels like a waste, even though that's not true. And in reality, there should be more times in the day that you can like do things for yourself. But that's what it feels like. It really feels like, I have X amount of time before I, go and disembody at work. Like, what can I jam into this time that is for me? And so that's like the part of control, right? That like, how can I control my time with my routine?
Something that I learned from like a separate project, I interviewed this psychologist at VCU about stuff that we have in our houses. That why do we curate space? Why do we hold on to memorabilia? Like what's the psychological reason for that? And she said this thing about memory that I think really is relevant to this discussion, which she was saying, like, when you inherit something from a family member, like a physical object, or you hold on to something from your childhood, it's a memory for you, yes, but it means something more than that. Like it's part of your personal narrative, and it allows you to like pick up an actual object and interact with your memory on a kind of physical level, and that will trigger even more memory and will allow you to, I don't know, enter that when like person was alive or when you were really young. And I think that ritual is the same like physical interaction with the things that are going on in our heads, like a skincare routine. And the people online do say this, but it just feels so like unreal coming out of their mouths because of like everything that we know about people clearly having this other motive of like wanting us to buy the things that they're using, or like, you know, the production behind it. There really is something to doing the same thing every day or every week, or like when you are in a certain state, because it does allow you to have control, and it does let you like honor the thing and put it into something else. Like I splash water on my face and I am calm because at least I put some like I've changed my physical state, and somehow like I can stop being anxious. I wipe down my countertop and I put away all of my dishes, and now my kitchen is clean, and I can walk into my kitchen and not think, oh my God, I'm a dirty slob, you know?
Mhm.
Like the way that we change our physical space with objects, which is what I was talking to the psychologist about, it does matter. And when we put that into a routine or a ritual, when we can like, you know, give physical space, physical change to a thing that's happening in our heads, it kind of takes the power away from that thing that is living in your head, like especially anxiety or feeling of lack of control, and allowing you to like take action with it. And so I think that there's a lot of strangeness and like panopticonness and performativeness in the content around routine, but like I think routine itself has obviously been proven to be something that does help us. And it feels not really, I would say it feels a little cheap when you get it from that TikTok algorithm. Um,
Mhm.
but I think that there is certainly something to it.
I feel like this whole episode has just given me like a bigger appreciation for like the totality of routines, like how we were
Mm-hmm.
saying with skincare, you know, like you said, this is how my skin changed in 2 weeks. The video you're seeing is not, you know, every moment in those 2 weeks spent actually performing the routine. It's not other parts of the routine that might have like nutrition or hydration that goes with, you know, clearing up your skin. It's not the research. It's not like the genetics that all factored
Mm-hmm.
into like that routine being successful, or like the privilege that you have to have clean water that you're using. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's just kind of what is really interesting to me, is like thinking about like the totality of routines and like all of the little things that come together to make these parts of our lives that like are so like structural, or are so significant. I feel like I just keep bringing up the bat mitzvah thing, but right, like your bat mitzvah is one day or your confirmation is one day, but you've spent years, you know, of religious education, and then more recent to that time, you have intense religious education where you're learning a language, right? That's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You learn to read Hebrew, or you memorize these verses. Like, a lot goes into that, and what we see is just one part, but really, like, if you're a part of the culture, that's what you're celebrating, is like the
Mm-hmm.
totality of that routine,
Mm-hmm.
which I feel like I've just really liked appreciating more as we've been discussing it in this episode.
Yes. And I think the thing that is what feels cheapened to me, I think, is the jealousy aspect, in which I am watching it and I now feel obligated to add more things onto my plate to feel as, you know, productive or pure as this other person. And I think that that has more to do with, you know, the ills of social media. Do people say ills? The ills?
Yeah.
Sure. The things that are bad about social media, unless about like the idea of routine. And I've been thinking about routine a lot recently because for the past like 3 years I've been in this graduate program where my classes, like in college you have classes like all day kind of, but like in grad school, you have classes that are mostly at the end of the day. And then in my program specifically, I'm teaching in the morning. So I have this like, I have to do stuff in the morning. I have a weird amount of time in the middle of the day, and then I have to go to class. And then I have to make sure I do stuff to teach. I have to make sure I do stuff to go to class. But then I also am in this program to be writing. So I also have to find time to be writing. And none of these things, I don't have to like show up to a place to plan my class or read for class or write or whatever. So like I have to create a routine for myself in that way, which is a difficult thing to do. And on top of that, I do have this other job. And I've been like, oh my God, I just want a job. Like, I think I actually do just want a job where I work from 9 to 5 and that's it. And I don't have to make all these other decisions about like how to prioritize my own time in order to achieve all of these things that feel really disjointed. And I also just really want 2 consecutive days off, which I haven't had in forever. Like I have not had routinely 2 days off in a row for years. And that would be awesome. But I do have all this like random pockets of free time. And then when I have that free time on a Tuesday, I can't treat it like a Saturday because I feel like it's Tuesday and I should be doing something else. But really, this is my day where I have the time to lay down on my couch. This is kind of just me going on a rant about what I've been thinking about my routine recently. But
this is the selfie season.
It is the selfie season. Ugh, you're right. I can talk about myself all I want. So that's just where I'm at. And I like have no factative. I have no like I have no like action that I want to take after this, like in terms of routine. Like I haven't really thought about that. But I did say last episode that I've been trying to like purposefully move my body. And for the past 3 days, I went on a walk and then I went on another walk and then I went on a bike ride.
That's amazing.
That's pretty big. And today I might do a little bit of yoga. And last night I practiced softball pitches too.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I've been doing a lot to engage with my body. So
yoga is really important. And I feel like every day I don't do it, my body is like incrementally suffering.
Yeah, it's just a good way to get out of your head because I'm still in my head. But yeah, that's the epi. Just something I've been thinking about. And thank you so much for listening to it. I feel like it's just interesting to think about ritual and routine and the way that it's presented to us and the way that we can do something about our own routines. And this just came from a seed in my head that was just like, why does this feel so culty? And I really thought I was going to go into this and be like, this is fucked up and culty. And then I was like, okay, damn, like, I guess people really have been doing rituals forever and they like help. So, damn. I love to be proven wrong.
I think it's just chalk another thing up that capitalism ruins.
Yeah, like, they're right. It is really probably really nice to wake up and like have lemon water every morning.
I did that for a little bit.
I like lemon water, but I just don't care enough.
I did it mostly because I was like, I should drink water before I drink coffee because sometimes I'll drink my coffee and then it's noon and I'm like, oh, I didn't drink anything except coffee this morning. And then there was just something about lemon water that made it like more accessible than plain water.
Yeah, just like fun. Like
this is my first drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that I like to do when I think of it, which isn't all the time. Firstly, I want to preface this by saying I really prefer cold water. I like to sip on very cold water, but I don't drink it as fast, obviously, because it's like cold in my mouth. So when I remember to do it, before I pour coffee into my mug, I put like tap water in it and I chug it really fast.
That's a great routine.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's a pretty good routine when I remember to do it. But I'm like, I just drink as much water as I'm about to have coffee. Good for me. Try it out if you feel like it. Make it a game. Try to do it in like 3 gulps.
I think I will.
It's like the lazy version of it, you know? And
Yeah.
then I like the tap water because it's like very easily, you know, like you can't shotgun a cold beer.
I only drink cold tap water. I don't drink cold water.
Oh, okay.
Unless I've been like really sweating, which
Yeah.
honestly is more often than not.
If you have a routine that you do every day that you want to share with us, I want to hear it. I think one for me that I do every day is take care of my cat. And that honestly helped my mental health, getting a cat. I have a little companion. I have to get out of bed or she will be very mean. It's like having a little bully, a little enforcer. Thank you so much for listening to our episode this week. We are both of us, very active on Instagram at howweliveonline. And you should follow it and tell your friends to follow it for updates, for little Easter eggs about what we're going to be talking about. And
did you know tomorrow's Easter?
Yes. Well, at the time of this video, or excuse me, podcast, Easter was yesterday, Joanna.
Might be.
Yeah. So he is risen. Love you. Bye. Are you going to say bye?
Bye. I forgot.